thing on our agenda tonight is a presentation from Tyler Wim on I Love Eden.
So Tyler will be giving us an update on the I Love Edenton website, blog, and he will be kind of giving us an update on how some of the features on the technology for the website has changed as far as the, and he will also be providing us with just giving us an update on marketing effort.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Has it been a year since you've been here? It's gone by that quickly.
It's been more than a year. About a year and a half or so since we've gotten everything started. So it's been a while. It's getting harder and harder to go back to the original blogs when new subscribers ask about them. But so I'm going to do this. I don't want to take up much of your time, but I want to kind of break this down into 3 parts. I'm going to start with the numbers, the boring part. I'll show you a video one of the videos that we created for the Edenton campaign, and then tell you a couple of stories that I've had with interactions for subscribers. So it started about 18 months ago or so, and we started, everything begins for just about every subscriber with a Facebook ad. You'll see here on this first slide, we're talking specifically about image ads. I broke them up here because about 6 months or so ago, we began experimenting with video ads. And so I'm just breaking up the metrics so it's a little bit clearer. So far, just in this year, 2021, more than 76,000 people have seen an ad, have seen the word Edenton, and seen pictures of Edenton in Facebook. That's 76 unique people from all over the country. We've had particularly good results from New York, particularly in the fall and winter time. Nobody likes to live below 0. I know I grew up in the Midwest. I know that for a fact. Chicago, we've had a lot of subscribers from Virginia Beach area and Raleigh area, with home prices squeezing middle-class people out there. They're looking for a new place. And of course, people now more and more are having the options of working remotely, and so they can live wherever they want and do their job. So they're looking for a place that's a little bit cheaper, a little bit more cost-effective. They can spread out a little bit more, and so we've had a lot of success in some of those urban areas. This year, for our image ads only, more than 7,000 people have actually engaged. So typically that's clicking on an ad. And although this number fluctuates from week to week and month to month, we average out over 12 months about 25 cents per click. The beautiful thing about digital marketing is we can quantify virtually every decision we make. It's not like buying an ad on a football game on Sunday and hoping you're reaching the right amount of people. We can quantify everything, and that's just with our image ads. If you flip forward to video views, and I'll show you some of the videos after I'm done with the numbers piece, you'll see that we've had 51,000 additional people beyond the 76,000 people watch videos that we've created specifically about Edenton. Most of them have won. Total video views on social media are more than 145,000 individual views of 3 seconds or more now, which is a lot, obviously. We've done a few things to update some of our strategic decisions around the digital marketing for our campaign. The first thing is that we've begun shifting more and more of our monthly ad spend away from image ads onto video ads. We're getting better ROI on that, and so it just makes financial sense. And then we've begun experimenting with Instagram as well. It's a new platform even for me, but we're having really good early results with that, and so we're splitting up ad spend there as well. That's just the ad part, so that's the sort of outward-facing Facebook part. Website itself, so this is different. This is tracking primarily organic traffic, so traffic that we do not pay for on the website. 9,000 different people have visited I Love Edenton. So they come via an email or they do a Google search, and the I Love Edenton website comes up. Most of our traffic now, and it's more and more every year, is mobile traffic. That's why we built it on the platform that we did. It's a mobile-first platform for our website, so it always looks good no matter what phone you have. And we're at so far a 20% increase year over year of organic traffic. It tells me, more than anything, it tells me that Google trusts our website, and it's intentionally routing more and more people who have relevant searches straight to this website because we have new content every week and people are on there for long periods of time and they return again and again. Just as an aside, I don't know how many of you read the blog on a regular basis, but the 3 best, most visited blogs are early in the year, January or February. We did a feature on Sheila Evans. As she was transitioning from principal at White Oak back to the central office. We told that story not only to say thank you to a woman who's dedicated her life, her career to the children of Edenton, but we wanted to tell people, brag about our educational system. One question I get from subscribers fairly frequently is, I've got kids, and my kids are going to get a decent education, or are they going to be behind everybody else? So we tell that story as proof that we have good people in our education system who are not only good educators, but good people as well. Arian Dickman, that was one that we did pretty recently, that got a lot of traction. Again, it's a perfect coming home story. So many small towns, they deal with flight. People grow up and they go somewhere else. This was a perfect time to tell a story, the exact opposite of what's normal. Tell a story of a talented person who went out, got a degree, and came home and is now investing in her community. We paired that with a feature as well on Nancy Nichols and all of her contributions to help create and develop the TDA and her contributions over the years. Together, that was a pretty powerful combination. And then lastly, Surf, Wind, and Fire. That was obviously a big opening here downtown. We told that story because in a small town, a company opened a second retail location in the middle of an international pandemic. Like, that's one of those sentences that you shouldn't be saying because it shouldn't be true. And yet, in Edenton, we were able to do exactly that. Talks about the strength of our economy, the strength of our community, and the vibrancy of our downtown. Again, in the middle of a pandemic, which in many places, towns, was laying waste to those very small businesses that make ours so special. We do have a lot of people who are still visiting things from the previous years as well. Whenever somebody subscribes as a new subscriber, they get an email sequence that starts literally about 5 seconds after they subscribe, and we have links in all of those emails. The most popular ones are Your Questions Answered, which is, I do this once a year, where I take the most popular questions that I get about Edenton and I just put them in an article because people love that. And then 7 amazing spots that make Edenton a completely unique place, talking about our historic areas, the beautiful architecture of the town. In addition to that, those views, so we have more than 145,000 social media views. We have more than 800 totally organic views directly on our website. And we'll have 801 here in just a couple of minutes as we show one of additional videos. Now, for those of you who are subscribers, you know that we send out an email each week. Currently, we have 2,400 active, regular, weekly subscribers. People who receive an email, who open an email, and who read an email and then click on it to go to our website. Roughly, we get 100 some active new subscribers every single month, and that number fluctuates, but we're gaining more and more gravity. And our engagement rates of 20 to 25%, nearly a quarter of our list every single week is clicking on that email to read our content every single week. A little bit of context, industry-wide, people hope for 5 to 8% of that engagement. We're tripling that number on a regular basis. Typically what happens is the longer a campaign goes like this, the less engagement you have, and we have maintained that 20 to 25% steadily through the entire time. And then that automated sequence that begins the campaign, it tells my story of how I came to Edenton, some of the things that are going on, it talks about what they're going to get when they become a subscriber. We're getting more than 30% engagement with that as well. So even if, for example, we scrub our list of somebody who hasn't opened or read an email in 2 months because we don't want to get spam complaints, even if they have gotten 10, 12, 15 different mentions about Edenton, so that name is lodged in their brain, even if they stop listening or have to resubscribe at a later date. So we'll go over this here in a little bit. I want to shift gears and go to our website. There's a video that we're going to play from the home page that that is for the primary video ad that we have right now. So we'll play that here in just 1 second.
Edenton, North Carolina. Life is more beautiful here. Escape the concrete jungles, the crowds, and the bumper-to-bumper traffic in big cities, and discover what it is like to love where you live again, under wide-open skies and in wide-open spaces. Enjoy mornings with a steaming cup of hot coffee as you watch the sunrise over the water of Edenton Bay. Spend lazy afternoons fishing, canoeing, kayaking, and boating, tubing, and exploring the endless rivers, tributaries, and canals, and streams leading to and from the beautiful Albemarle Sound. Spend weekends sitting on the beach at the world-famous Outer Banks, just over an hour away, relaxing to the sound of waves crashing on the seashore. Spend your evenings arm in arm and hand in hand with your loved one, watching sunsets over beautiful cypress trees. Edenton, North Carolina. Life is better and more beautiful here.
So that's just one of the videos that we've produced. There's a couple more on the website if you wanted to go and you can take a look at them. We have videos that we've produced, and then the TDA has allowed us to import some of their videos onto our website as well, since a rising tide lifts all boats in this community. I want to end tonight with just a couple of quick stories. So I'm going to grab my phone. About 8 months ago, we got a new subscriber named Craig. Craig is, we get new subscribers 7 days a week, so there wasn't any big deal about it. Craig had never heard of Edenton before. Him and his wife live in Syracuse, New York, and they were looking to retire towards the south. Craig emailed me about a month and a half ago, said we've been subscribers to the campaign for months now, and we're coming down for a visit. Here's some things that we want to check out. Do you have any options? Do you have any things that you think we should look at? So Craig and I went back and forth a few times. We emailed back and forth, and we ended up scheduling a meeting for coffee. And this last Friday, 3 days ago, I sat down with Craig and his wife at the Edenton coffee shop. They got in early Thursday afternoon and visited things a little bit around town, and they told me they took in the most beautiful sunset over the Albemarle Sound. And every single one of us who lives here knows exactly what you get over that water. I met with him on Friday morning, and we talked about a little bit about everything. We talked about home prices, and we talked about hurricanes, and we talked about their really negative experiences as I looked at other towns as potential places to visit. They told me some horror stories about working with realtors, and they told me that they had sort of a walk-in appointment with one of the realtors in town on Friday afternoon. And so we spent an hour together, had a great time, and we talked, and they went out to Captain Mark and took his tour. They took the trolley tour. They ate at Old Colony and snapped a picture and sent it to me that afternoon. And on Sunday night, he texted me and said this after they got home. He said, we're home safe, we loved our visit, and our potential future home. We're so excited. They were so excited to come and to visit it. After I got home from that meeting with him on Friday, I received an email from somebody named Betty. I didn't know Betty was coming to Edenton, but she sent me an email at Thursday or Friday at about 11 o'clock, and it says this: I've been receiving your emails for over 6 months. We were impressed with the town, so we came and visited 2 weeks ago. It is at the top of our list where we want to retire. We talked to many people, and we went on the trolley tour, boat cruise, checked out the golf courses, and even met 2 amazing ladies on our first day there at the Chicken Kitchen. The ladies we met at the house to purchase the trolley tickets were great, and we loved all the shops on Main Street. We truly loved our visit, and we felt so welcomed. I share that for 2 reasons, those stories for 2 reasons. One, it's great to have 100 and some thousand video views, but if nobody's coming to town, who cares, right? The reality is, The results of this campaign, like everything else during the COVID pandemic, were pushed back because people couldn't go anywhere. But what we're seeing now, time and again, in August and September, as I talk to people who are scheduling stays at the Inner Banks Inn or at the Hampton Inn or this and that, is that our subscribers, who we've been continually, faithfully feeding good quality, relevant, uplifting content to, have seen Edenton, and they're coming, and they're shopping, and they're visiting. And they're not just tourists, but they're investigators. Because we've planted in their mind the seed of the idea that this could actually be their next home. And the beautiful thing about this is that I'm not having to sell anything that's not true, right? They come in, and when I talk in the email campaign about how Edenton is a welcoming town, they come and actually experience a welcoming town. When I talk about how it's peaceful here, they actually experience what I'm talking about. And it's not often that you read something online that turns out to be true in real life. We've all been bitten by that bug before. And so what's happening now is we are, as a town, reaping the rewards of not only investment in this campaign, but the TDA's investment in Edenton and all of the different organizations and the people who have volunteered and put in their time and their effort to create an extraordinary experience. That when we plant the seed in their mind that this could be their next home, and they come and they visit it to see if they want it to be their next home, they have a great experience. Just like my wife and I did when we first visited, just like so many of the people we've profiled on the campaign itself. So that's where we're at. I'm happy to take any questions that you have or deal with any feedback you guys might have.
Just, what are the positive things you're saying about Edenton? You mentioned hospitality. Is that one of the most positive you've heard? The welcoming, the feeling welcome?
Yeah. So for example, when I was talking to Craig and his wife, they were looking at real estate in South Carolina, like they were looking at here, and they were nearly ready to make a purchase, and then suddenly all kinds of stuff started bubbling up.
What about negative? Anything negative?
About visitors?
About coming here, and sharing them in the negative aspect.
So, one person emailed me asking if we have a place where they could dance on Friday and Saturday nights because they didn't see that. One of the biggest hurdles we have to get over is that we are a small town, and when you're moving from a community of 100,000 or 500,000, you're not sure that Edenton is actually going to have everything, or it's going to be so inconvenient to live here that you're going to have to learn a whole new set of skills. But again, these objections are easy, right? Just about anywhere in a big city, you're going to drive for 30 minutes, even if you're only driving for 5 miles because of traffic. We got a 30-minute drive to just about anything you want. And deliveries, things like that, make life here a breeze. That's sort of the biggest question, but it's nothing that is a problem, I would say.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for Tyler?
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Are you getting any feedback of people coming on the weekend and particularly Sundays and finding that things are closed or not what they expected, or are you seeing any of that?
So, I had a subscriber who was staying at the Inner Banks Inn early on in the month, and they emailed me on a Monday night. They said, "Hey, where's a good place to eat?" And so I Governor's Pub on Monday night was that. So we do have some issues with things being closed on Sunday afternoons, Sunday evenings. But the positive of that is when I talk about somebody who's visiting a town, we don't say, well, things aren't open on Sundays. We say Sunday is a great time to investigate the beach. Sunday's a great time to go a little bit farther out to figure out some of the other areas. It's a perfect opportunity. You've done everything you can on Friday and Saturday. Boom, you do that. So that's how we get around that. That's what I say. And so that's probably one of the biggest, that's the drawback potentially. But again, once you've lived here, you see the cost-benefit analysis of not having a place to necessarily go eat on Sunday night besides a couple of places in Edenton versus the benefits of living here really is not even a question of whether that's worth it or not. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Tyler, thank you so much, and as I told you earlier, you're doing a great job, and we appreciate what you are doing.
Thank you. This is great fun, and I enjoy telling the story of Edenton as often as I can.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is the Historic District Design Guidelines, and Elizabeth Brown will be giving us a story on that. And Anne Marie, you want to take that? Or?
Elizabeth is Zooming with us tonight, and I think she's ready to give you a summary of the guidelines and the process and what's coming next. So, hi Elizabeth.
Hi. So tonight I'm coming to you from my car, hoping not to be interrupted by boys or dogs. So hopefully you can hear me just fine. I wanted to give you guys a little introduction to our Historic District Design Standard draft that is ready for you to review at your public hearing at your regular meeting in October. As you know, our Historic District Design Standards are appended to our Unified Development Ordinance, so you must formally adopt them, and we have a procedure for you all to do that through the text amendment process. This project, a long time coming, was funded by a grant through the Historic Preservation Fund and the State Historic Preservation Office. We were given the money in 2019, and the project, as you might imagine, was slowed down fairly significantly by COVID. And we had a really hard time finding consultants, and were granted an extension. Well, I think that was Providence, because we ended up with a fantastic consultant. Her name is Heather Slane, and she'll be able to Zoom with you in October. She wrote or helped the town of Chapel Hill write their recent update to their historic district design standards. And so we were really lucky to get her, and she's been fantastic to work with. We formed a committee with myself and Heather. We had Jennifer Harris representing downtown, Destination Downtown Edenton, and then Judge Tom Newbern and Lisa Baker from our Historic Commission that were sort of our Design Standards Update Committee that worked together through the review process. The Preservation Commission has approved and recommended that you all approve these design standards and are super excited to begin working with them. We'll talk more about it in October unless you have questions, but I do want to point out to you, if you have a chance between now and then to take a look at the document, it's pretty large. We do have a new section that we are actually cutting edge. Town of Edenton and Town of Beaufort are actually the first two, and I think ours may be adopted first, towns to incorporate disaster preparedness and recovery sections for historic properties. As y'all may remember, the town of New Bern or city of New Bern had quite a lot of damage to their historic district, and folks had contractors coming in telling them they needed to rip out original woodwork that had received water damage and some really bad advice along the way. And so the State Historic Preservation Office developed some recommendations to send out to folks in historic districts, but we, and then the town of Beaufort also followed suit, decided it may be good for us to have that right here specific to Edenton suggestions for our folks as we prepare for hurricanes and recover from hurricanes. So please check out that section in particular. And other than that, if you've got questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Anybody have any questions of Elizabeth? Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Here we go.
Sure. No problem.
Okay. All right, and there's no action that needs to be taken on this tonight. Elizabeth will keep us informed. The next item is item C, a budget amendment, a capital project ordinance. Corey, we'll ask you to take that if you will.
Thank you, Mayor. The item C that we're talking about here is a budget amendment that Virginia prepared. And what this is we must have the funding available and approved prior to us making the legal services agreement. And what this is for is legal services that would be provided by the town attorney. And this would mainly deal with some of the closing documents for the improvements that we're gonna see at the wastewater treatment plant. And
All
so,
right, and this one, I'm sorry,
yeah, and we would just need to,
and this one does need action taken on it, it must be approved. So I'll accept a motion, to go forward with this service agreement.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And our next item D is legal services agreement with USDA Rural Utilities Service, with the town of Edenton and our town of Corey. Attorney, I can get it out in a minute. Corey?
and so the budget amendment that we just discussed was part of what was needed first before we could approve the legal services agreement. This agreement was pre-audited, and that's how we got to the point of making that budget amendment. And this is part of a USDA requirement that will have the service agreement in place between the town and the town attorney, but we had to approve the budget amendment prior to the service agreement.
Okay, and this does require action on it too, so we need a motion for this agreement.
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then we have E, which is a budget amendment for the purchase of 119 West Hick Street property. Corey, I'll let you talk about that.
So this amendment is for the purchase of the property at 119 West Hick Street. Virginia has already pre-audited this budget amendment and found the funding, and the town has already provided all the paperwork to the town attorney, so we can work towards closing documents and a title search. So the budget amendment that we're doing is actually for the tax value of this property to make the purchase.
Okay, all right. And we'll need action on that as well. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just want to say, Mr. Terry Jones is very pleased with council's support
I'm
on
sure
this
you will.
particular issue.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we'll move to our committee reports, and the first one is the administrative committee, and that's,
We're going, Mayor, we're going to close session. Going to close session.
no, not to the end of the meeting.
You got a recess. You need a recess.
So we'll recess the special meeting, and then what we will do is go into our committee meetings, and then we'll re-adjourn the special meeting in closed session with the town.
Okay.
So we'll do that at the end.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, we'll need a motion then to
I'll motion to
recess the motion.
I'll make a motion to recess. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So we will now go into regular session, and we will start with the committee meetings. Again, it's the administrative committee, and that's chaired by Councilman Hyde.
Thank you, Mayor Stout. Let me see, the first item of business to discuss is the amendment of classification of a schedule for the water system technician. The Public Works Department has requested a new job description and position, that being the water system technician, be created and incorporated into the town personnel policy. The job would be a part of the water treatment plant division and would be classified as a pay grade 12. The position will focus mainly on water meters and the water distribution system. I think it's important to note, and Corey, you guys correct me, it's not a new position. It's not going to create any new position. It's just a reclassification of an existing position. Is that right?
That's correct.
And as far as like new money, is the pay grade going to be a little bit higher with the additional duties than what we have been paying? Or is it going to remain the same right now?
It will remain the same, if not lower than
Okay.
what we have now. We're basically reclassifying a water system operator position to allow for an entry-level position for our water treatment division.
We've always been very supportive of our various departments. This is a request that they have made. It is not going to add, as we understand it right now, add any cost to that particular department. So I would recommend we forward that to full council for a vote on it at our next meeting. The second matter is just an update on the Human Relations Commission. You'll recall about 2 weeks ago when we discussed this at our regular September meeting, the administrative committee had met prior to that meeting and started talking about the process that we could move forward on a vote on the Human Relations Commission's recommendation that they have given us. You will recall that we talked about approximately 60-day time period from that meeting date, and it looks like we still can accomplish our business within that time frame and hopefully have some sort of resolution of that. I would hope in November at the latest, at our November meeting. Two of the things that we talked about in terms of process was the need to consult with our attorney about the legalities of any action that might be taken. As you well know from looking at the agenda, we will be doing that tonight. We've got Hood Ellis here, and he's going to share his insight later on that. Another part of the process that we wanted to make sure that we were as fully educated as the commission was, and wanted to make sure that we had the same historical information before us that they had when they made their decision. Anne Marie has been kind enough, and others, to gather that information, and it's been sent to us. And I would just encourage everybody on full council to review that so that we can begin our discussions in October. And that's what I would recommend, is that we review that, we take into consideration what Mr. Ellis tells us tonight, and then let's start having some discussions on the issue in October with an eye to complete our task in November. The third item that we have on the administrative committee is a professional services agreement on one of the airport projects. You will recall that we have approved a small capital project for engineering design for runway 1-19 at the airport. That work has been pre-audited by our finance staff, and we are asking that we have professional services authorized for our aviation consultant, Jay Talbert, and his company. And so we are moving forward with the project, and now we just need to have an amendment so that we can hire Mr. Talbert and his company to assist us in the small capital project for runway 1-19. So I would just recommend that we put that on the regular session in October with a recommendation that we approve the work authorization for those professional services. And Mayor Stiles, that completes our report
Okay.
to you and
Thank you,
council
sir.
tonight.
Our next item is the Utilities Commission, and that's chaired by Mayor Pro Tem Bond.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got two items that we can combine together, I think. First one, 2021 Disaster Service Agreements for emergency restoration and rehabilitation of electric power lines and tree trimming agreements for electric distribution system. Corey, your help, please.
So what we have received is the newest version from Electricities. We received 6 total agreements, 3 for the disaster service agreement and then 3 for the tree trimming agreement. And what this allows us to do is have multiple contractors already within a service agreement, so if and when we would need to use their services, we would already have those agreements in place. So the first 3 that will need approval will be for the disaster service agreement, and then the second will be the 3 contractors for the tree trimming services. And this is just a precaution to have these in place if there was some need for those guys to come in, because we'd rather have it now than.
Well, the good thing is we got 3 of each, and
Yes.
we can pick one, or if the others are busy, we got 3 that we can pick from, we don't have to wait for the one, so
That's correct.
that's a good thing.
Corey, is the tree trimming agreement, is that both emergency and non-emergency, or is that just emergency on the tree trimming?
The most of the emergency is considered in the disaster service agreement. Tree trimming could be used during a disaster as well.
But it would also include just regular trimming.
Yes.
When we get to that point, because we had a few complaints last time we trimmed some trees, just make sure we've got a mechanism to communicate to the public if their street is going to get trimmed, and also perhaps some understanding of how much they're going to trim and what methods they're going to use. Because we had one particular street
Yeah.
very, very upset.
We can do that.
Thank you.
That just,
Corey,
Corey, that's just really good community relations that we do.
What's that?
Space.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, thank you, Corey.
You're welcome.
You were saying that on,
And one other question, Mayor. Are these expenses covered by FEMA automatically?
There wouldn't be any cost associated with these agreements unless we actually use the services. And this is something that's housed within the membership with Electric Cities. They've done
In order to get, if there were a disaster, in order to get reimbursed, the first thing FEMA's gonna wanna see is that the services were procured properly. So
Okay.
there's no guarantee that FEMA is gonna, I mean, they can always find some reason to reject it, but in the past, because we've had these agreements in place, we've been successful.
how to do it, man.
All right, next committee is the Finance Committee, and that's Councilman Dixon.
So we got 3 budget amendments on tonight. One is for the Davis Yacht Building Reuse Program, another one is for the airport fund, the facilities rental fee, and the other one is for the capital project with the pavement and lighting of runway 1-19. Is there anything you want to add about these, Corey? We just send them on up. Emery or Tammy, y'all, you need.
Just had a question, Councilman Dixon, that vote, do they have to maintain a certain number of employees for a certain amount of
Yes.
time?
It's my understanding.
When is that effective date starting?
So, their grant agreement started back in 2020, but we were able to get an extension because of COVID. So they have until, I believe it's July 2022, to create and maintain, I think it's about 67 jobs. And they have to maintain those jobs for 6 months.
I think the main thing to be concerned with there, and to talk about there, is the fact that we don't have to meet that $20,000 match.
Yeah, we're removing that from the budget because they're not going to require of us, so that.
Because of the tier 1
Yeah.
county.
In the past, the Edenton Show-On partnership has funded the local matches, so they are more excited than you all are about this change.
Okay.
All right, the next item is our Public Works Committee, and that's chaired by Councilman Billings.
Thank you, Mayor. We only have one item of business, request for qualifications approval, engineering services, phase 2, inflow and infiltration. Mayor, as you know, the funding for the phase 2 inflow and infiltration sanitary sewer abatement project has been approved. As required by the state, the town must solicit proposals for an engineering study. The town has received proposals from the Wooten Company and Seppi Engineering for the project. The town recommends that the Wooten Company be selected to perform the work. Mayor, I forward this recommendation for council to be decided on at October 12th council meeting.
Great, all right. All right, I believe that concludes our committee meetings, and now we're gonna have to adjourn our special meeting and go into closed session under, with our town attorney regarding NCGS 100-2.1, protection of monuments. So this time we'll close our, I guess we need a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, that meeting is closed and we'll go into closed session.